We like candles to relax, unwind, and set the mood. But could they actually be harming our health? You've probably seen headlines of candles being toxic, or heard people swear off synthetic fragrances and paraffin candles. But how much of it is actually based in fact, and how much of it is marketing? Hey, I'm Ashani. I'm the founder of a wellness brand called Luna London, which is focused on products that are designed to keep the calm in your home. On this channel, we talk about everything small business and the behind the scenes and real truths behind running a small business. Subscribe and hit the bell if this is something of interest to you. If you love candles like I do, or you are running a small business which sells candles or makes candles, this video is definitely for you. We're diving deep into what makes candles safe or potentially harmful, and we'll be discussing things like wax, soy versus paraffin, fragrance, synthetic versus natural essential oils, and how candle use actually makes more of a difference than you actually would think of. So first things first, let's talk about toxicity. The word toxicity gets thrown around a lot in the wellness space, but what does it actually mean in this context? When we talk about toxicity, we're talking about the potential it has to cause harm, but it's important to know that harm depends on the dose, exposure, and conditions. A lot of the fears surrounding candles are related to misinterpreted studies or applying industrial standards to home settings. Let's break it down. So let's first talk about waxes. Paraffin wax is derived from petroleum. It burns evenly and holds scents well. It produces soot and VOCs, or volatile organic compounds, such as benzene and toluene. Studies show that in a typical home environment with ample ventilation, levels of VOCs are well below harmful thresholds. Cited studies from the South Carolina State University and the RIFM found no significant health risks in real-world applications. I'll link those studies below just in case you want to do more of your own research, which I would highly encourage you to do. The downside with paraffin waxes is, of course, they're derived from fossil fuels. They are also non-biodegradable, so it's definitely something to consider when you're selecting your wax. Now, let's move on to soy wax, which is definitely the love child, or the brand new, exciting wax that people like to use or to show off that they use. And this is because it's perceived as being a lot more sustainable. So as the name suggests, soy wax is made from soybeans, which is a renewable resource, meaning you can always grow more soybeans. It has a lovely slow burn and produces less soot. It's often marketed as clean or non-toxic, but just remember that these are unregulated terms. A huge downside that I see people not really address within the, if they're using soy, the fact that soy wax can be GMO, it can be sourced unethically, and it needs a lot of chemical processing to become a wax. And what I mean by unethical sourcing of soy is the fact that soy is linked to deforestation, especially in the Amazon. This deforestation is linked to biodiversity reduction. Also, to grow the soybeans, we need to use pesticides, and this is causing degradation in soil, meaning the actual soil may not be as nutrient dense to be able to grow more stuff on it. And linking to the fact that it's degrading the soil nutrients, it means that the livelihoods of these farmers, once they've produced as much soybeans as they can, it's they have an uncertain future. So as you can see, while soy is kind of masked and celebrated as this amazing sustainable wax, there's a lot to consider, and it's not just a this wax is bad and this wax is good. It's kind of looking at the whole thing holistically and doing a lot more research before just selecting a wax because it sounds like it's a better option. Briefly touching on other waxes that you can consider, and that would be beeswax, which is of course natural, clean burning, but it's very expensive. There is coconut wax, which is a sustainable option, a really good sustainable option, but because it's so soft, it's usually blended with other waxes to make it a bit more suitable for a candle. And there are people using palm waxes, which also palm wax is known as a very let's say got ethical conflicts with it. So consider all of these things when you are selecting a candle, and it's not always just say this is bad or that's bad. It's kind of looking at it all in a holistic way. But when we talk about toxicity, no actual wax is toxic, because you can get food grade paraffin wax, wax that you can actually eat or put on your body. So it's not actually toxic. It does emit those VOCs, but you need to be exposed to a lot of it for it to make a huge impact to your health. Next let's look at fragrance oils versus essential oils. So fragrance oils are synthetic or partially synthetic. They are more stable when burnt and hold scent longer. Synthetic fragrances can contain phthalates, but many suppliers now offer versions or fragrances without it. When you're purchasing fragrance oils, make sure that they are IFRA certified. When you are purchasing fragrance oils, make sure that they are IFRA compliant or RAFM tested fragrances. The pros when it comes to fragrance oils are that they are made specifically for candles, so they generally perform a lot better than essential oils and they're more predictable in the way they perform. So you're more likely to get better scent throws from them. The cons when it comes to fragrance oils is that you can get very poor quality fragrance oils out there. So it's always important to go to a reputable supplier because poor quality fragrance oils generally will have a lot of irritants and allergens within them. Let's move on to essential oils. Essential oils are 100% natural and derived from plants or flowers. The thing to note with essential oils that they are not all heat. The thing to note with essential oils that they are not all heat safe. Some can degrade into irritants when burnt. Unlike fragrance oils, essential oils are not made specifically for candles. They just come out of the plant as they are. There's no modification to them. So in terms of performance, they're not always as predictable. This means there's a potential risk of it being very inconsistent when burnt. The key thing is with essential oils is that if you're buying an essential oil, say like it's lavender from one supplier, it could actually differ and burns differently compared to if you were about to buy lavender from another supplier. And it's just something like, obviously any new fragrance oil or essential oil should be tested, but it's just something to consider. Common issues with essential oils are like citrus oils tend to break down quite a bit, and spice oils can become irritants as well. The key takeaway is that natural doesn't always mean better or safer. If you are supplying candles and they're going to be, in a home with a pet, you have to think about what essential oils, can do for pets, because there are many of them that are irritating to pets. So it's just really like, it takes a lot of education is what I'm trying to say. And there's no right or wrong answer whether it comes to wax, whether it comes to fragrance oils or essential oils. It really just comes down to the individual founder to decide what's best for them and what's best for their product and what they want to sell to their customers. So we've discussed the ingredients of what constitutes towards a candle. Now let's talk about what actually makes a candle harmful. The first thing is make sure you're burning your candles in a well-ventilated area. And when you're making your candles, make sure that you have appropriate PPE, or personal protection, to make sure that you're not inhaling lots of fumes. Especially as a maker, you're going to be exposed to a lot of fumes, a lot more than like say a customer. So always make sure you have good ventilation, maybe put on a mask so you're not directly inhaling these fumes. Always trim your wicks, making sure that you don't have soot buildup or high flames. Burn your candles for 2 to 4 hours, don't go overboard and just leave them going on the whole day. This is reducing your exposure again to the fragrances. And when it comes to ingredients, look for full disclosures and safety data sheets to actually understand what are the allergens or what ingredients are going into the fragrances that could potentially be an irritant or an allergen to somebody. Things to avoid, and this is to go with whether you're a consumer of candles or if you're making candles. Again, just look for transparency in terms of ingredients. Avoid artificial dyes because that can also add a bit more like soot into your environment. And if you can avoid candles with metal core wicks, that's also something that is, can help with your environment. And the reason to avoid metal core wicks is because of exposure to heavy metals such as lead. This is very like an old practice of, when candles were made, but you can still get wicks like that. So just be sure to make sure that, you've read what the wicks are made out of as well, so you're avoiding that heavy metal exposure. So I hope that I've kind of consolidated a lot of information together. Like I said, it's really, it really comes down to you and what you personally feel comfortable with, what you're creating and what you're selling and what your customers want. At the end of the day, there's no specific right or wrong answer. It comes down to individual choice at the end of the day. And, I feel like sometimes as YouTubers or people who are putting information out there, people are looking for like, this is the right way to go or that's the right way to go. But again, it's just down to individual choice and what you feel comfortable with. So wrapping up, are candles toxic? No, not inherently toxic. The wax, the fragrance, and how you use your candle, they all play a part together. When made with care and used mindfully, everyone can enjoy a candle, unless you have specific allergens. So I hope you found this video useful. I think I've definitely been inspired to create another video now based on this, and I think it's really to talk about sustainability in candles, because again, that's another greenwashing term that I see a lot, where people say, you know, like I said, soy is more sustainable, when that's not inherently true. You know, there's other more sustainable waxes out there, not just soy. So I think that might be quite an interesting topic to dive into. So please let me know, do you think candles are toxic? And have I changed your mind? Would you still are you still cautious about candles? Because at the end of the day, like I said, there's a lot of studies out there and there's a lot of information out there. So it's kind of like everybody has to piece it together, but I hope I've given you the direction of, you know, where to go, let's say.